So, homage to the Buddha, homage to the Dhamma, and homage to the Noble Sangha. So, today the first meditation is about Sila Sutta, virtuous. Venerable Mahakotitha said to Venerable Sariputta, Friend Sariputta, what are the things that a virtuous monk should carefully attend to? Friend Kotitha, a virtuous monk should carefully attend to the five aggregates subject to clinging, as impermanent, as suffering, as a disease, as a tumor, as a dart, as misery, as an affliction, as alien, as disintegrating, and empty, as none, unself. What five? The form aggregate subject to clinging, the feeling aggregate subject to clinging, the perception aggregate subject to clinging, the volitional formation aggregate subject to clinging, the consciousness aggregate subject to clinging. A virtuous monk should carefully attend to these five aggregates subject to clinging, as impermanent, as suffering, as a disease, as a tumor, as dart, as misery, as an affliction, as alien, as disintegrating, as empty, as non-self. When, friend, a virtuous monk carefully attend thus to these five aggregates subject to clinging, it is possible that he may realize the fruit of stream entry. So here, what Venerable Mahakotitha is asking from Venerable Sariputta, how to do this careful attention or the wise attention. So that wise attention, in this case, in all 11 things, as impermanent, as suffering, and so on. So when he has done that one, then it is possible that he become a stream enterer. But friend Sariputta, what are the things that a monk who is a stream enterer should carefully attend to? Friend Kotitha, a monk who is a stream enterer should carefully attend to the five aggregates subject to clinging, as impermanent, as suffering, as a disease, as a tumor, as a dart, as misery, as an affliction, as alien, as disintegrating, as empty, as non-self. When friend the stream enterer carefully attend thus to these five aggregates subject to clinging, it is possible that he may realize the fruit of one's return. But friend Sariputta, what are the things that a monk who is a once returner should carefully attend to? The once returner stage is the second stage of sainthood. Friend Kotitha, a monk who is a once returner should carefully attend to the five aggregates subject to clinging, as impermanent and down to as non-self. When friend once returner carefully attend thus to these five aggregates subject to clinging, it is possible that he may realize the fruit of non-returning. That means he become never returner, anagami, third stage of sainthood. But friend Sariputta, what are the things that a monk who is a non-returner should carefully attend to? Friend Kotitha, a monk who is a non-returner should carefully attend to the five aggregates subject to clinging, as impermanent and then down to as non-self. When friend a non-returner carefully attend to thus to these five aggregates subject to clinging, it is possible that he may realize the fruit of arahantship. But friend Sariputta, what are the things that a monk who is an arahant should carefully attend to? Friend Kotitha, a monk who is an arahant should carefully attend to these five aggregates subject to clinging, starting with impermanence, suffering, disease, and so on up to non-self. For the arahant friend, there is nothing further that has to be done, and no repetition of what he has already done. However, when these things are developed and cultivated, they lead to a pleasant dwelling in the very life and to mindfulness and clear comprehension. You see, now everyone got to do the same thing. Whether you have attained, whether you are an arahant or not, whether you have not attained, all got to do thinking about these five aggregate subject to clinging, that's matter, feeling, perception, volitional formation, and consciousness, as impermanent, as suffering, and as a disease, as a tumor, as a dart, as a misery, as an affliction, as alien, as disintegrating, as empty, as non-self. Those are the things that has to do. Arahants do not have to do what they have been doing. They don't need to repeat. But what Venerable Sariputta said that if you do that one, then you get this mindfulness and clear comprehension together with this pleasant life while you are pleasant abiding, while you are living. To learn these 11 terms, well, let's go to this diagram. You can see that so there are 11 terms here, starting from impermanency to non-self. So when we talk about matter, feeling, perception, volitional formation and consciousness, so 11 into 5, so 55. So it is little bit difficult for someone to meditate, but you can. I have done that one. So Sampati Mahabrahma is telling us a shorter way of doing this one. And actually Sampati Mahabrahma told me, before this discussion occurred with the Venerable Sariputta and Kotitha, Venerable Sariputta had a discussion with Sampati Mahabrahma. Out of that discussion, this Dhamma came through. So we know 12 terms, starting from birth, aging, sickness, death, and so on. There are 12 things. So if you leave out the last one of the list, then you are ending up with these 11. So what are those 11? Birth, aging, sickness, death, and then suffering, dukkha, and then you have the sadness, sorrow, lamentation, and the distress, and separation from what is pleasing, and union with what is displeasing. Those are the 11 terms. So the last one, the 12th one, we are not focusing on that one. So in this particular discourse also we got 11 terms. So we are going to mark those 11 terms with this 11, because this is something known to you and then it is easy to work with. So the first one in the list is the impermanency. So the impermanent, anicca. So this is belonging to the contemplation of impermanence. Have we done the contemplation of impermanence? We did that one. That is our first meditation. In the concentration meditation, we were looking at the arising and passing away phenomena. Remember, once see delight in form, welcomes it, remain holy, and so on. So we learn up to this because of the existence, birth come to be, and then we were looking at the other way around as well. So now you can see there is this body. You got a baby type body, that is birth, and that birth now it is subject to aging, the sickness. Baby type body was subject to aging, sickness, and then you get death. After death, you are in the mind-made body. So you have not been eaten for many days, so there is this suffering. So you were separated from the baby type body. So therefore, you can see the body is no longer there, so it is impermanent. And actually this death we are talking about, the death of the consciousness. So it is a bit deeper than you think. So in simple terms, you can see there was a baby type body, was subject to age, sickness, death. I no longer have the body, so therefore impermanent. Impermanence is there. So we have marked impermanency over here. And the next one is suffering. Have you done the suffering meditation? We did many times, isn't it? So when we were doing the suffering meditation, we were looking at the birth, aging, and all those things are suffering. So the aging is included in the suffering. So here we have marked suffering just underneath the aging. So that one belonging to the contemplation of pain. And then the third one in the list is, in the discourse, is the disease, rogato in Pali. So you can see our third one over here is sickness. So it is really, we can mark this disease just underneath that one, the sickness and disease. So the disease is actually, our body is actually a big trouble, isn't it? It is a disease because we need to feed it. We need to feed it and we need to wash it. We need to put it to sleep, and all those things has to be done. So it is a disease. And then the fourth one is the tumor. You see, if you have a tumor, then because of the tumor, people die. So it is befitting for us to put it underneath the death. So because of the tumor, brain tumor, whatever, they die. So the tumor is there. So if you have a sort of a boil in your leg or somewhere, then you are protecting it. You are putting a plaster and protecting it. Why do you do that one? Because do you love your wound? No, it is because that if this one is actually spreading, and then your death can be expected. So similarly, the things like this disparaging, the derogation, that sort of thing, they are tumors. These are tumors. So they are spreading. So that we have marked the tumor underneath the death. So the tumor is also belonging to the contemplation of pain, contemplation of this suffering. And then the fifth one is the dart. Remember, we were looking at the dart before, that we have a physical nutriment, and then you come to the barb of lust, and then a dart is wedging into your mind, and we discussed that once, and then you go and hold the physical nutriment in that case. And similarly, in the contact as nutriment, then you get this barb of hate, and then you go and hold the feeling in that one. The feeling become the steadying point for consciousness. So similarly, you can see there are 4 darts we discussed. So in the consciousness path, you can remember, because of the delusion, when you come to the barb of delusion, you go and hold the volitional formations, because volitional formations is the one constructing the consciousness, and the darts are wedging into our mind that time. So now we have marked that dart, not below. It is now only, it's on the top. The consciousness, we say it's like a dart over here. And then, so that is again the contemplation of pain or suffering. And the sixth one is this misery or the agato. You see, if you have not eaten and then you feel sort of miserable, you are affected by that thing. And again, you also have this mental sadness because I could not eat. So therefore, it's a mental as well as physical. So we join that one through a line, and then we mark this one as the misery over here, just underneath the suffering. The suffering over here, that I am in a mind-made body, that I have not eaten for many days. So the physical as well as mental. So there's this misery, that is agato. And then the number 7 is that affliction, abadito. That means it's a disabled. If you are in a wheelchair and your legs have been amputated, and then you have this, you are sorrowing because that I can't walk like the other people, and so on. So underneath the sorrow, we have marked this affliction, abadito, the disabled thing. Again, that one is belonging to this contemplation of pain. And the 8th one is alien. So the alien means that you are relying on others. That, for example, a monk is depending on the alms given by lay persons. You are also dependent on the institution that you are working on. The government or the institution you are working on, you are depending on. Not only you, that let us say there is a billionaire. That billionaire had got all the money. Let's say that he got money in his house, that packets and packets are there. But if there is a starvation time on earth, he can't eat Those cockroach can eat these notes, but he can't eat. So he and we all depend on the vendor. The supermarket or the vendor who is selling these things, we are depending on him. Because that if he is not selling those things, you can't eat. You can remember in Haiti, there was an earthquake, and at that particular time, those vendors, they closed their shops. They went away. So the people could not eat. So they had to go and break those stores and take food. So your vendor is very important to you. Although we blame, this is bad guy, but this is very important. If he's not selling, then you can't. So you are dependent on that vendor. What I'm trying to say here is that people normally think, oh, I am standing on my own feet. I'm not depending on anybody else, but you are entirely dependent. So now for the vendor to sell those things, there is someone helping him. The truck driver, isn't it? If the truck driver is not delivering those goods, then the seller can't sell it. So you are depending on the truck driver as well. And for the truck driver to bring those food material and things, there is someone helping him. That is the farmer. If the farmer is not growing anything, there is nothing that you can eat. So then you are dependent on the farmer as well. Now, for the farmer to do that job, there are two creatures, the two types of creatures helping him. That is the one above, one below, the worms, isn't it? Without those worms, you can't grow. That's why, there's those certain planets that people are looking for those planets to live, but they don't have these little creatures. If they don't have little creatures, then you can't, we can't survive. Humans can't. So we are dependent on that worm as well. So we were thinking, we are the biggest guy, and over here we live like a king. I'm not depending on anybody else, but you are, dependent on even the worm. So we are dependent. So this one is now written as alien, that underneath the path of the consciousness. So what does that mean? The consciousness is dependent on something. What does that depend on? The consciousness is dependent on the volitional formations. So because the volitional formations construct consciousness. So if you understand this one, then it's a really valuable thing. You are understanding the higher link in a dependent origination. So the dependent origination because of the ignorance. Volitional formations come to be. Because of the volitional formations, the consciousness come to be. So this, the paratho or the alien is belonging to this contemplation called contemplation of not self. And then number 9 in the discourse is disintegrating. In Pali word is the palokato. So there is one discourse called Paloka Dhamma Sutta in Salayatana Samyutta. In that discourse, Venerable Ananda was asking from the Buddha, what are these Paloka Dhamma? The disintegrating. What is that? And then Buddha was saying, Ananda, this eye is disintegrating. The ear is disintegrating. Nose, tongue, body, and the mind is also disintegrating. You see that today we are using these spectacles, and there will be a time that the spectacles won't do any good for you. You won't be able to see. So eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and the mind. Normally you can understand that eye is disintegrating, ear is disintegrating. But normally you can't understand that mind is disintegrating. Buddha said in a certain discourse, couple of discourses are there, Buddha said that mind is intact and mind is not intact. In other words, mind is breaking as well, like your eye is breaking. So there are instances that you can see this one, that some people, when they are old, they commit suicide. So there was that one instance that somebody was trying to do that one, and his daughters were calling me and asking, why is it? Why my father is trying to do that one? You see that that particular person did not have any problems other than this problem. His body, actually, he was about 60 years old, but very strong body. He looks like about 40. And his wife is treating him very well. They have wealth as well. The children are educated and treating him very well as well. But still, he want to commit suicide. So I asked Sampati Mahabrahma, why is he trying to do that? And then he said, his mind is breaking. In the sense, it is not aligning. For you to look at this table and say, sort of understand this one as a table, your mental states like feeling, perception, those things, and volition, they got to align in a certain way so that you can pursue things in a correct way. So his mind is not intact. So then he feels like committing suicide, and he did it. And before that one, Sampati Mahaprabhu told me that after death, his mind will come to then will come to this collected point after that one, and it happened. And I have been speaking to that person after death, that with him, he was in mind-made body, and what he wanted to do was to be born on earth and become a pilot. That was what he wanted to do. So this normally when people commit suicide, we tend to think, definitely he did go to hell, or sort of thing, he's going to hell. That's what normal people are thinking. But there are situations like that one, like love affairs and so on, they commit suicide, and that's a different scenario. But if he's doing this, committing suicide because of the problem in that mind, mind is breaking, then it is not so. So we have marked this disintegrating under this distress. Your eye, ear, nose, thumb, body. So there are 5 parts over there. So that is the biggest one. So to giving a weight to that side, we mark over here. You see, the disintegrating part is very heavy on the eye, ear, nose thing. What is the most valuable thing for you out of those, in your body? Eye, ear, nose, thumb, body, and the mind. Those are the most valuable thing. Not the other parts. People do not think about it. If you don't have eye, how can you go to work? You can't do anything, isn't it? Everything is collapsing with it. You can't cross the street even. So this is disintegrating. So this one is belonging to the contemplation of impermanence. And this is disintegrating part. And then the next one is empty, shunyito. So you can see that we had a baby type body, and it is subject to aging and the sickness, and then there will be death. And then you don't have the baby type body anymore. So the emptiness we have marked with the separation from what is pleasing. Because you do not have the baby type body anymore. We arrived at that one before. So separation from what is pleasing. So this emptiness over here belonged to this contemplation of not self. And at this particular point, you have a really good meditation. This arrow over here is showing you a really good meditation. What is that meditation? You see, you had a baby type body, was subject to aging, sickness, and death. And after death, you are in the mind-made body. And so you have not eaten, so therefore there is suffering. You are separated from the baby type body, it's no longer there, so this one is impermanent. So now you can see when you go down over here, you are saying, you read this text over here as the impermanent and suffering. And when you are going across to the right side, birth, and then aging. So what it says here, this arrow actually saying, if it is impermanent, suffering, and aging means subject to change. And if it is changing, is it befitting for me to take it as mine? So that is the description of this arrow. So we can write down this one on this top of this arrow. If it is impermanent, subject to suffering and change, is it befitting to regard as mine? If you answer it correctly, then you come to emptiness. Because if it is impermanent, subject to suffering and change, would you regard it as mine? You wouldn't. So therefore you come to the emptiness over here. So that is your first meditation, the contemplating about this arrow. How do we do that one? You have a baby type body, that is birth, and subject to aging, the sickness, and death. After death, you are in the mind-made body, and then you have not eaten for many days, that is suffering. You are separated from the baby type body, therefore impermanent. So you are reading down, then it says impermanent and suffering. Going across, it says it is changing. Birth, aging means you are changing. So if it is impermanent, subject to suffering and change, is it befitting to regard as mine? So and if you answer positively, then it says, yes, it is not befitting for me to regard. So therefore you come to the emptiness over here. So now you can see this. Now we are here, there's separation from what is pleasing. Now if you are separated from your baby type body, and that is the only body you have, this body is the only body you have. And what you left is, you left with union with what is displeasing. On the other hand, the mind-made body person, he is living there, everybody else is eating. Maybe they are actually sending the smell to him as well. But what can he do? He can't eat. So everything is not pleasing for him. Union with what is displeasing. So if it is not pleasing, would you take it as self? It is not self. So then non-self. Anatta. So this can be said in a different way as well. In the Anija Sappaya Sutta, Buddha said that the empty of self and of what belongs to self. Empty of self and what belongs to self. You see that the little while ago we found that the matter what we had this in the birth is gone, impermanent, no longer there. So it is empty of, if regarding matter, feeling, perception, volition, formation and consciousness, if you put all five together, still this particular line applies. It is impermanent, subject to suffering and change. So I am not going to take that one. So from that emptiness, then you come to the non-self. So in other words, you can see it is not befitting, empty of self and of what belongs to self. If you take individually, the form is not self, the feeling is not self. So from this emptiness, you come to non-self through this definition, empty of self and of what belongs to self. So now we have learned the 11th term. So that is belonging to the contemplation of not self. So these are contemplation about impermanent, suffering and not self. Now, this is the first meditation, and there is another meditation that we are going to learn. For that one, we are going to use one discourse called Sila Sutta. It is called Form. On one occasion, the Blessed One was staying among Ayojans on the banks of the Ganges river. There he addressed the monks. Monks supposed that a large globe of foam were floating down this river, and a man with good eyesight were to see it, observe it, appropriately examine it, To him, seeing it, observing it, and appropriately examining it, it would appear empty, void, without substance. For what substance would there be in a globe of form? In the same way, monk sees, observes, and appropriately examines any form that is past, future, or present, internal or external, latent or subtle, common or sublime, far or near. To him, seeing it, observing it, appropriately examining it, it would appear empty, void, without substance. For what substance would there be in form? In a river, the water is going there, these forms are there. Even you actually hit it, it will break. There's nothing hardwood or type thing inside it. So it is empty. So Buddha was comparing the form to a globe of form. So then we will write down in our diagram here, next to the impermanent, the form, within bracket you can write down lump of form. Form is like a lump of form. And then again Buddha says, now suppose that in the autumn, when it is raining, in fact heavy drops or water bubble were to appear and disappear on the water. And a man with good eyesight were to see it, observe it, appropriately examine it. To him, seeing it, observing it, appropriately examining it, it would appear empty, void, without substance. For what substance would there be in a water bubble? In the same way, a monk sees, observe, appropriately examine any feeling that is past, future, or present, internal, external, latent, subtle, common, or sublime, far or near. To him, seeing it, observing, and appropriately examining it, it would appear empty, void, without substance. For what substance would there be in feeling? You see, on a rainy day, you can see these water bubbles are formed because of the rain. It does not last, isn't it? It just flash it and go away. So Buddha is comparing this one to a feeling. You see, it is so, isn't it? Remember we had a discussion about it. A man or a woman who came to this world, looking for pleasures from that woman. Remember greed, hate, delusion, meditation. And then that little boy got this happiness for a couple of years. He had the real good happiness. When we're talking about the happiness, we need to talk about this from the eye, nose, tongue, body point of view. So today what we are eating, this pumpkin, broccoli, cauliflower, all hard stuff, isn't it? You need to boil them and do that one and mix about 4 or 5 to make your meal. And the little boy is actually the baby is getting soft milk, everything included, nourished. Sometimes medicine also included in that. So there's first happiness from the food, completing all things. And secondly, mother's breast is inside that little one's mouth, so that it is sucking it. So therefore, the soothing effect is there, like a soother. So the two kind of happiness is there. And thirdly, you can see mother's body is touching the baby's body. And mother like that one as well, because the baby's body is very soft. The skin is soft, so therefore she is also getting happiness. On the other hand, baby is getting much more than that one, because the soft skin can absorb the happiness in the pleasure from the mother. And he is also getting the warmth as well from the mother, all those things. So 3 kind of happiness are there. And the fourth one, you can see mother is looking at the little baby with a compassionate eye, looking at the baby while it is sucking this milk. Now, do you get that sort of thing today? That someone give you food and then watch you eat with a compassionate mind, looking at you? No. So the fifth one, maybe the mother is singing some sort of a song for the little baby. So there are 5 kind of happiness over there. And what happened to this baby when that baby is about 4 years old? Mother got another baby. So she would sort of mix up, the potato, rice and sort of thing together and put on a table. Son, you eat. Now sit down over here, eat. Now he is not happy because, everywhere it is food cracks over there in the face and so on. And he is old as he. Now he understands he is missing that, lovely parts that he used to get while eating. So he's looking at the mom, can I come to you, mom? But you can't because there is this, the sister or brother occupying that space. So you lose that one in 4 years' time. And then when you are 8 or 9 years old, mother is not touching you that much. And then 20 years, it's gone. So there is this thing, when you used to have this one, today also, it doesn't matter what is your age. When you get a problem, you get something, what do you say? Oh, mom. The mom. That's the word coming up. That mom word has got quite a lot inside it. The protection you got from the mom. The warmth you got from the mom. That happiness you got from the mom. Everything included. And you are looking for that one. Let us say you are young. You are looking for that. But nowhere to be found, that one. You get something, but not that one. And now you are subject to this old age, your body wrinkled and so on. And with that wrinkled body, you are actually still hoping, that maybe someone when you were young, they touch you and then went away. So there was this little feeling generated by that time like a flash, And then you are now old age, you are still demanding, let me have the feeling that I used to have when I was young and that person touching me. You can't get it because this, your body is now wrinkled, that wrinkled skin cannot absorb that way. But we are actually looking for that one. So it is not a lasting thing. That's what Buddha said, it's a water bubble. The feeling is like a water bubble. So in that diagram, so you write down in the next to this in the number 2 line, you can see the next to the suffering, you write down feeling, within bracket, you write down water bubble. Feeling is like a water bubble. And then back to the discourse, Buddha is saying, now suppose that in the last month of the host season, a shimmering mirage appears and a man with good eyesight were to see it, observe it, appropriately examine it. To him, seeing it, observing it, appropriately examining it, it would appear empty, void, without substance. For what substance would there be in a mirage? In the same way, a monk sees, observes, appropriately examines, and any perception that is past, future, present, internal or external, blatant, subtle, common or sublime, far or near, to him, seeing it, observing it, and appropriately examining it, it would appear empty, void, without substance. For what substance would there be in perception? So Buddha is comparing this perception to a shimmering mirage. So in that diagram, you write down next to this, the disease over here, the perception, within bracket you write down mirage. It's an optical illusion. So you see some sort of a water is there, but there's nothing in it. And then in the 4th one, Buddha is saying, now suppose that a man desiring heartwood, in quest of heartwood, seeking heartwood, were to go into a forest carrying a sharp axe. There he would see a large banana tree, straight, young, enormous height. He would cut it at the root. Having cut it at the root, would chop off the top. Having chopped off the top, he would peel away the outer skin. Peeling away the outer skin, he wouldn't even find sapwood, to say nothing of heartwood. Then a man with good eyesight would see it, observe it, appropriately examine it, to him, seeing it, observing it, appropriately examining it, it would appear empty, void, without substance. For what substance would there be in a banana tree? In the same way, a monk sees, observes, and appropriately examines any fabrications, or that means original formation, that are past, future, or present, internal or external, blatant or subtle, common or sublime, far or near, to him, seeing them, observing them, appropriately examining them, they would appear empty, void, without substance. For what substance would there be in fabrication? So that person looking for hardwood, saw a banana tree and then he cut it on the top and the bottom and then remove this skin, and then you can see what is inside is nothing. It becoming softer and softer, so on. So here Buddha is comparing this original formations to this banana trunk. So in that diagram, next to the tumor, you write down original formations. Within bracket, you write down banana trunk. So the original formations like a banana trunk. Then going back to the discourse again, now suppose that a magician or magician's apprentice were to display a magic trick at a major intersection, and a man with good eyesight were to see it, observe it, and appropriately examine it. To him, seeing it, observing it, and appropriately examining it, it would appear empty, void, without substance. For what substance would there be in a magic trick? In the same way, a monk observes and appropriately examines any consciousness that is past, future, or present, internal, external, blatant, or subtle, common or sublime, far or near. To him, seeing it, observing it, and appropriately examining it, it would appear empty, void, without substance. For what substance would there be in consciousness? So the Buddha is comparing this consciousness to a magic trick. So in the next to the dot over here, write down that we are talking about the consciousness and as a magic trick. So this is what Buddha said. Buddha said the form is like a lump of foam. Feeling is like a water bubble. Perceptions is like a mirage. Volitional formations like a banana trunk. Consciousness like a magic trick. That's what is it in summary. So this the perception like a mirage, I also saw this one when I was meditating with my concentration. You see, Buddha is saying form is like a lump of foam. So you can see some sort of this axle over here is like let us say it's like a glass thing that is rotating, glass tube. So you put inside this, at this particular point, coveting and grade, you insert a foam. That is a lump of foam you are inserting to that one. And putting lump of foam here, you rotate this one. Because of the barb of lust, you are spinning this one. So what will happen? The lump of foam will break, and when it comes to over here, then you will see certain dots on the glass. When you come to this perception level, there won't be anything, but it looks like there is water, so the mirage will appear, and optical illusion will appear over here. So when it comes to over here, to the level of the volitional formations, there is nothing in it. And in this side, there is this magician. Now that magician is now saying, look, something came from the left side, isn't it? Because the mirage appear over here. So it looks like there is something. So then he start spinning this one from the consciousness side with the delusion. Spinning with the delusion. So when you do that one, then whatever the water that came to this side, the gas vapor will go back and it form a lump of foam. So that is our life. So you spin it that way, And then you say, the form is like a lump of foam, the feeling like a water bubble, the perception like a mirage, and the volitional formations like a banana trunk, and the consciousness like a magic tree. You would also see this one, that something came over there, but there was nothing. It's like the water is there, but no water. So the optical illusion. So that is your second meditation. Put lump of foam over here and spin fast, and then go through this text which is read. For the third meditation, now we are going to look at the number of ways that we can reach the non-self, where that is anatta. So one way is this through this arrow. We come to number 10. From the 10 to 11, there is this connection. So not self. But there is something else over here. So here you can see the perception like a mirage. So let us say someone is actually looking for water, and you see a mirage, optical illusion, and no water. So then we have the sorrow. So in that case, we can actually mark this particular spot, the sorrowing perception. So write down over there as the sorrowing perception. Now you can see there is a connection from number 3 to number 7, number 7 to number 11. Would anyone take sorrowing perception as self? Not self. So sorrowing perception is not mine. So therefore not self. So you can see 3 to 7, 7 to 11, although we have not drawn those lines. The perception like a mirage. Therefore you go and try to find it. What you get is the sorrowing perception. I did not get water. And the sorrowing perception, you are not going to take it as mine, therefore not self. So now we come second way to that one. And there is another way to arriving at this non-self. Here you can see there is another arrow which is going through aging, sadness, and come to not self. Do you take anything, like subject to aging and sadness as mine? They are not mine. So therefore, it is not self. So that is the third arrow coming to the not self. So meditation is a very powerful meditation. So you are looking at for the third meditation, you are looking at all the ways that you come to this not self. And also we will write down few bits here which you may not have written down. Because here in this particular one, we are talking about, when we say non-self, we are talking about the perception. It is the perception starting from here. So the perception, the sick perception, and like a mirage, and the sorrowing perception, and not self is also the perception. So you write down perception just underneath the not self. And again, here in this spot, you can see we are talking about the feeling. The emptiness is the feeling. So you write down feeling within bracket, non-self. Now you can see we are talking about feeling in two different ways. Over here we are talking about feeling as something, it is suffering. Suffering is over there. So the feeling as suffering over here. That is number 2. When you come to number 10, we are seeing feeling, non-self. So there are something you need to notice. Again, we do have the other ones to mark. The paratho, the alien, and this is belonging to contemplation of non-self. So you first write down the non-self over here. And also, number 9, we are talking about the form, eye, ear, nose, tongue, body. So the form, within bracket, you write down impermanent. So now we have got all the required things for this meditation, for the last meditation. This meditation is a very powerful meditation. You see, old days when we were having these retreats like this, people were not attending, they are not coming to high level of the noble attainments those days very quickly. And then at that time, I was asking Sampati Mahabrahma, and then he used to give a meditation subject for some people. Before giving that meditation subject, remember we were talking about Doba yesterday. So it is over here, isn't it? This is the self and the misapprehension, and then we have the doubt over here. That was the Doba. That Doba can be seen when you examine the mind of a person who has not attained to the stream entry, once return, and so on. The Doba is there. The constructed Doba can be seen. So that particular person, for that person, Sampati Mahabrahma asked me to ask him to do this meditation for 7 weeks. Before he started the meditation, I was shown his mind, how it is. I saw the Doba very thick on the bottom side of this misapprehension. You see, the Doba doesn't have to be completely over here. I have seen other people's minds that some are actually sort of coming like a V shape or a physical nutriment, coming down, going to the mental volition, coming down, and then going to the consciousness and coming down again, like a W and plus something. And I have seen when you examine mind of an innocent person, it is normally going on the top, physical nutriment, mental volition, consciousness, like a L shape going down that way. Purpose of the meditation or any Buddhist meditation is to break this thing, this bar. That's the only thing you need to do. And that's what Buddha did. When someone comes in front of him and asks, give me some sort of meditation technique for me to do the meditation. And Buddha look at his mind. And then Buddha see where the bar is. So then he is actually giving this meditation to break that one. One good example is this Bhavatanha Purikotima Sutta, Tanha Sutta. In the Tanha Sutta, Buddha is saying this ignorant. If there is this is the wisdom. Instead of wisdom, let us say we have the ignorance. The ignorance is coming because of the 5 hindrances. So the 5 hindrances, the sensual desire is over here. So you went across the bar one time. It's like if there is a wall, if you want to break it, you hit it from this side, hit it from the other side, and so on. So likewise, so you went across the bar once. And then Buddha is saying, these 5 hindrances are due to this lack of virtue, or like this, killing, stealing sort of thing. So killing, stealing are marked over here. So you go through that one again. Again, this lack of these virtue parts are due to not restraining. So remember, restraint of faculties are marked on the left side. So you went through that one again. So it's like you are hitting many times to go through that one. So the bar will, diminish. It won't stand over there. So after 7 weeks, Sampati Mahaprabhu showed me that the other person's mind again, the bar is very thin now. And from another discourse, it's gone. So this discourse is also so powerful. It is hitting this Doba many times, 3 times. You see, we are constructing this consciousness because of the feeling. So before the construction, you are saying feeling is not self. So that means you hit once. Don't construct. It is not mine. So why would you construct? And while constructing, so this is the construction, you construct it from the perception. While constructing, it says it's not mine, not self. So therefore, hit another time. What do you construct? You construct the consciousness. But over here we are saying construction, consciousness is non-self. You hit 3 times. So the Doba will go away. And the result of doing this meditation is shown over here. What you get is wisdom, faith, then the sense of shame, the fear of wrongdoing, the mindfulness, and effort. Those things will come to arise. This diagram is called old diagram. So those are the 3 meditations. So what's the first meditation? You look at this particular arrow. How do you contemplate about that arrow? You had a baby type body, that is birth. Now it is already subject to aging. And what you are going to get is sickness and death. So after death, you will be in mind-made body, that you have not eaten, therefore you are suffering. And you are separated from the baby type body, then it is impermanent. So you are going down, impermanent and suffering. And then you are going across, you are saying birth, aging. That means it is change. So now we are saying if it is impermanent, subject to suffering and change, is it befitting to regard as mine? I'll tell you, this is the meditation that Buddha has described. I can tell you about 100 discourses. Buddha is asking from monk, is form impermanent or not? It is impermanent, sir. And then Buddha is asking, if it is impermanent, is it suffering or not? It is suffering, sir. If it is impermanent, suffering and subject to change, is it befitting to regard as mine? That's the question asked. So you are fortunate to see that one from this arrow. That is what Buddha meant. And it is not befitting. If you answer correctly, then one time it is the 4th jhana. Another time it is the 7th jhana. The other time it is a liberation due to mind. So that is that much powerful. That means to what extent I am answering this question, to what extent I know about this subject that is written over here. So depending on that one, you can have the liberation even over here. So that is the first meditation. What is the second meditation? Now we are going to put a lump of foam inside this glass tube and spin it fast as you can. Like a food you get, this is yummy, and you are eating, like that one you spin it fast. So when it is rotating, the bubble will be this broken, and this no foam will not stand. So therefore, when it comes to feeling, you would see only the dots on that glass. When you come to the perception, there is nothing. The mirage will appear. And then when you come to the volitional formations, and there is nothing at all, nothing left, and there is the magician on the right side. Now he is saying, look, that there was a really nice thing happening in between, isn't it? So because that mirage appeared. So now he's spinning with the barb of delusion this side. So the whatever water vapor came to this side will go to the left side and form the bubble. This is the bubble. You hit it. You don't have to hit it inside. Sometimes it is, the heart problems and so on. It's broken and collapsed. Some people are, collapsing while playing tennis. We are very fit. There's someone in Melbourne, isn't it? Happened to him playing the tennis and collapsed. So he died. So you put this lump of foam and spin, and you say the foam is like a lump of foam. Feeling is like a water bubble. And the perception is like a mirage. Volitional formations like a banana trunk. Consciousness is like a magic trick. So that is the second meditation. And you might see that mirage yourself. I saw it. And then the third meditation is you are looking at all the ways to come to this not self. So one is that from the number 10, because you from your first meditation you come to number 10, and from the number 10 what you have is dispacing things, therefore not self. The other one is the perception is like a mirage. So you are looking for that one, you went over there, you did not get water. What you get is the sorrowing perception. So would you regard the sorrowing perception as mine? No. So therefore you get non-self. And the aging and sadness, nobody is taking aging and sadness as mine. Therefore not self. So three lines coming through to the same spot. And then coupled with this, the number 8, non-self. Understanding this one it's a really good one. What it says, the consciousness is dependent. This alien means dependent, isn't it? So consciousness is dependent. Dependent on what? It's dependent on the volitional formations. Then understanding that one is you are understanding very high level of the dependent origination. And then the last one is over here, form is also impermanent because you are eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, so on. So that's the meditation. So let us take 10 or 15 minutes for you to take this onto your mind, and then we will do the meditation.